When Batman crashed into the grimdark hell of Warhammer, the Inquisition discovered something that terrified them more than chaos itself. A man who refused to kneel, who wouldn't kill on command, and whose technology predated the Imperium by impossible ages. While Superman might inspire hope in this universe of endless war, Batman brought something far more dangerous: the demand for justice in a galaxy that had forgotten what the word even meant. But could the world's greatest detective survive in a universe where mercy is heresy and compassion could doom humanity to extinction? The warp storm ripped through the Ghoul Star's sector like a wound in space itself, painting the night sky with colors that hurt to look at. On the hive world of Nostramo Secundus, Lord Inquisitor Matthias Crane stood in his tower, watching the impossible storm twist and bend reality. Purple lightning that moved backward, green clouds that screamed. His hands gripped the metal railing hard enough to leave marks. His helper rushed to his side, breathing fast. "My lord, the mind readers say something is coming through the storm. Not a ship, something else." Through the swirling madness above, a dark shape fell from the sky. At first, Crane thought it was broken metal from a destroyed vessel. But the object changed direction, moving with purpose like a hunting bird. It struck the factory district 3 miles away with an impact that shook the ground beneath Crane's boots. Windows rattled in their frames. Workers in the streets stumbled and fell. Crane grabbed his communication device. "All units to the impact site. This is Inquisitorial authority. Move now." The crash site was a hole in the ground 30 meters wide, surrounded by hundreds of curious factory workers. The crowd pressed close despite the danger, their fear losing to their need to see. At the center lay a craft that made Crane's breath catch in his throat. It was black as midnight, built from materials that seemed to drink in the light around it. Sharp angles and smooth curves, combined in ways that matched no Imperial design he had ever studied. "Clear this area immediately," Crane commanded through his armor speakers. His voice boomed across the crowd. By order of the Holy Inquisition, everyone back. His tech priests moved forward with their scanning tools, their mechanical eyes whirring and clicking as they analyzed the strange craft. Then the ship's top section hissed open with a sound like escaping air. Crane's hand dropped to his bolt pistol. His guards raised their weapons. From inside, the craft emerged a man, or something that looked like a man. He wore armor unlike anything Crane had seen in 40 years of service. Black plates covered his body, reinforced at the joints with extra protection. A cowl hid most of his face, showing only his jaw and mouth. On his chest was a symbol that looked like a flying creature with spread wings. A cape hung from his shoulders, and its inside seemed to move on its own like something alive. "Identify yourself," Crane ordered. His 10 guards formed a half-circle around him, their guns ready. "By the authority of the Holy Inquisition, you will answer our questions." The figure's eyes glowed white behind his mask. He looked at the crowd, at the tall buildings, at the armed men. Crane could see him thinking fast, taking in everything around him like a predator measuring its hunting ground. "Where am I?" The voice was deep and controlled. It made even Crane's veteran soldiers shift their feet nervously. "You stand on Imperial soil," Crane replied. "This is Nostramo Secundus in the Ghoul Star's sector. Now answer my question. Who are you?" "I'm Batman." The name meant nothing to anyone there. "I was chasing someone. There was a device, a portal maker. Something went wrong." Before Crane could ask more questions, alarm sirens screamed across the district. His tactical display lit up with red warning symbols. From the underhive below, something was emerging. The scanner readings made no sense. Life signs mixed with machine parts, but the power levels suggested something much bigger than the readings showed. "Genestealer cult," his tactical officer said, his voice tight with fear. "They've been hiding for months. The impact must have woken them up." Through the narrow streets between the tall buildings, Crane heard people screaming. The crowd that had gathered to see the crash started running in every direction. From the underhive access tunnels came shapes that made Crane's stomach turn. Hybrids, human bodies twisted by alien genetics into monsters. They still looked part human, which somehow made them worse. Behind them came the pure aliens, moving fast on 4 legs, their long heads filled with massive jaws designed to bite and infect. The local police opened fire with their shotguns in disciplined volleys. Crane's team moved through the underhive in standard search formation. His helpers with scanner tools led the way, combat robots provided heavy firepower, and tech priests analyzed everything around them. Batman moved independently, sometimes scouting ahead, other times examining details that Crane's people overlooked completely. 3 weeks had passed since that first meeting. 3 weeks of investigation that revealed a pattern horrifying even to Crane's hardened sensibilities. Across 7 worlds in the Ghoul Stars sector, Genestealer cults had appeared within the last 10 years, all near Adeptus Mechanicus research stations, all showing signs of deliberate introduction rather than natural infestation. Someone had brought these aliens to Imperial worlds on purpose. Batman had proven invaluable during the investigation. His analytical methods were unlike anything in Imperial doctrine. He examined evidence with precision that rivaled the Mechanicus, yet his conclusions leaped beyond pure logic into something like intuition. Where Crane's helpers followed established rules, Batman improvised, adapted, pursued leads that seemed pointless until suddenly they weren't. On the Forge world of Metallis Prime, they found the first solid evidence. A sealed research facility, supposedly abandoned decades ago according to official records, yet showing signs of recent activity. Batman had traced power usage patterns through the planet's energy grid and found the difference. Someone is keeping active systems in a supposedly dead facility, he explained to Crane as they approached in an unmarked transport. Either it's not as abandoned as the records claim, or someone's using it without permission. The facility was buried beneath layers of industrial waste, accessible only through maintenance tunnels that the planet's current people had long forgotten. Crane's team moved silently, their weapons ready. Batman led, his movements ghost-like despite his armor. They found the bodies first. Tech priests, their machine-enhanced bodies twisted and torn, lying in corridors that should have been empty. The cause of death was immediately clear: Genestealer attack. But these were fresh kills, only hours old. "They're still here," Batman whispered, pointing to fresh claw marks on the walls. The facility's interior was a nightmare fusion of Mechanicus design and alien corruption. Research chambers held specimens in frozen sleep. Hybrids, pure aliens, even a young patriarch preserved in some form of time suspension. The data logs revealed a project name: Biological Warfare Initiative, Subject Classification, Tyrannid Derivatives. They were making them into weapons, Crane breathed, rage building in his voice. The Mechanicus was creating Genestealer weapons. Batman was examining one of the frozen chambers. Not just weapons. This is selective breeding. They were trying to create controllable versions, Genestealers that would follow Mechanicus commands. The height of forbidden practice, Crane said. To think they could control such monsters. But they couldn't. Batman pointed to broken containment systems, evidence of violent escape. Something went wrong. The specimens broke free. They killed the researchers and spread into the sector's population centers. A sound in the darkness. The clicking of alien jaws. From the shadows emerged a pure alien, its movements cautious, calculating. Behind it came hybrids, their human features twisted into mockeries of Imperial citizens. But these weren't attacking. They were watching, studying. Curious, Batman observed, his hand on a device in his belt but not pulling it. They're not in attack mode. They're evaluating threats. The pure alien tilted its long head, its eyes disturbingly intelligent, fixing on Batman. A low mental pulse came from it. Not an attack, but something more like communication. Crane felt the presence of something larger behind the aliens. Not a patriarch, something else. A consciousness that used the aliens as extensions of itself. Then a voice, human but twisted by machine modification, echoed through the facility. How fascinating. Visitors. And not just any visitors. Inquisitor Crane. Your reputation precedes you, and your companion, unknown to Imperial records. Curious indeed. From the shadows emerged a figure that made even Batman tense. A tech priest, but one transformed beyond recognition. His biological parts were minimal. Perhaps 20% organic tissue remained, the rest replaced by ancient machine modification that predated the Imperium. But most disturbing was his head, or what remained of it. The skull had been opened, the brain exposed and modified with metal parts that pulsed with electric energy. Genestealer biological machines fused directly into his brain tissue. Magos Zenith, Crane identified, checking his data device. You were declared dead 40 years ago, killed during an alien research expedition. Death is such a simple concept. The thing that had been Magos Zenith replied. I prefer to think of it as a transformation. The Genestealers gave me understanding, Inquisitor. They showed me the foolishness of the Omnissiah's teaching. True perfection lies not in the purity of the machine, but in the blending of flesh and technology. You're infected, Batman stated flatly. The Genestealer genetic material has damaged your thinking. Zenith's remaining organic eye focused on him. And you are an oddity. Your technology is not Imperial. Your methods not approved. Yet Inquisitor Crane permits your presence. Tell me, what are you? Someone who stops people like you. Zenith laughed, a disturbing sound mixing human amusement with machine clicking. People like me? I am the future. Oddity. The Imperium grows stale, bound by rules and fear. I have risen above. I've merged the best of humanity and alien into something greater. You've become a monster, Crane said coldly. Whatever you were, Magos, you are now merely a host for alien corruption. In the Emperor's name, I condemn you to death. The Emperor. Zenith spat the word. A corpse on a throne, worshipped by fools. His Imperium crumbles while he sits silent, but my hybrids will thrive. My patriarch, when it emerges from its change, will lead them to glory. Batman's eyes narrowed. Change? Patriarchs don't undergo change after they mature. Ah, but you don't understand. I have sped up the process, enhanced it with ancient technology recovered from this very facility. The Patriarch grows even now in the depths of this station. When it emerges, it will be unlike any Genestealer the Imperium has faced. Stronger, faster, more intelligent, and it will be mine to command. You're insane, Crane said. Genestealers cannot be controlled. Their mental bond exists only within their own hierarchy. Then I shall become part of that hierarchy. Zenith tapped his modified skull. I have integrated their genetic material directly into my brain structure. I am becoming one with the hive mind. Soon, I will not merely command the Patriarch. I will be the Patriarch. Batman moved with sudden violence. His grappling device launched, the line wrapping around Zenith's modified body. But the Genestealers responded instantly, leaping to their master's defense. Batman's cape hardened into a shield, blocking razor claws. He deployed shock devices that stunned the hybrids, creating an opening. Crane's guards opened fire, their advanced rifles cutting down hybrids in disciplined bursts. Combat robots advanced, their bulk providing mobile cover. The tech priests deployed flying skulls equipped with weapons that filled the corridor with laser fire. But Zenith was already retreating, his Genestealer servants covering his withdrawal. You cannot stop the transformation. His modified voice echoed. The Patriarch will emerge within hours. This entire Forge world will become the seed of a new empire. Not human, not alien, but something beautifully between. Batman pursued, moving through the chaos with focused determination. Crane followed, ordering his guards to secure the facility. They couldn't let Zenith reach the deeper levels, wherever this changing Patriarch waited. The chase led through kilometers of abandoned research labs, past chambers filled with horrors that would haunt Crane's dreams for years. Failed experiments, hybrid monsters that should never have been created, vats of genetic material harvested from countless alien species. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the facility's core. Here, suspended in a web of biological and mechanical support systems, hung something that made even Batman pause. The Patriarch was enormous, twice the size of any Crane had read about in inquisitorial records. But it was changing, its shell like armor splitting and reforming, new limbs emerging from its body, mechanical modifications fusing directly into its flesh. The Mechanicus had truly created something unprecedented, a hybrid of ancient technology and alien biology. Zenith stood before it, arms raised in religious joy. Behold, he proclaimed, the future of evolution. Man and machine and alien, unified in perfect blending. Batman's scanner played across the chamber, analyzing structural weaknesses. The support systems, he said to Crane. Destroy them and the transformation will fail. The Patriarch will either die or emerge incomplete. And risk destroying this entire level? Crane calculated quickly. The explosion could kill thousands in the nearby living blocks. Then we evacuate first. There's no time. The creature is already beginning to wake. Batman looked at him, and Crane saw something in those wide-eye slits. Not calculation, but genuine conflict. The detective didn't want to choose between stopping the monster and saving civilians. There's always another way, Batman said finally. We just need to find it. He launched himself upward, using his grappling device to reach the chamber's ceiling. From there, He could see the full extent of the patriarch's support system. Not just mechanical, but biological. The creature was connected to Zenith himself through pulsing living cables. "The fusion isn't complete," Batman shouted down. "Zenith and the patriarch are still separate beings. If we cut the connection now, the transformation will reverse." "You cannot," Zenith screamed, his remaining sanity breaking. "We are becoming one. We are rising above." Batman deployed cutting tools, advanced blades that sliced through the living cables with surgical precision. Zenith convulsed as each connection was cut, his modified screams echoing through the chamber. The patriarch thrashed in its restraints, its incomplete transformation beginning to collapse in on itself. Genestealers poured into the chamber, hundreds of them, responding to their patriarch's distress. Crane's guards formed defensive positions, their weapons blazing, but there were too many. Batman fell from the ceiling, his grappling line cut by a lucky claw strike. He landed hard, rolling to absorb impact, but Genestealers were already on him. His armor held against the first few strikes, but the reinforced plates began to crack under repeated assault. Crane saw the detective about to be overwhelmed and made his decision. He deployed his trump card, a mental null field generator, a device so rare that only the highest-ranking inquisitors possessed them. The field erupted outward, disrupting the patriarch's mental control over its brood. The Genestealers faltered, their coordination broken. In that moment of confusion, Batman recovered, deployed sound devices that drove the creatures back with painful frequencies. Above them, the patriarch's transformation was collapsing badly. Its flesh rippled and tore, mechanical parts rejecting biological integration. Zenith, still connected by a few remaining living cables, screamed as feedback from the failing fusion destroyed his brain modification. "We need to go." Batman grabbed Crane's arm, pulling him toward the exit. "The biological containment is failing. When that patriarch dies, it'll release toxins designed to melt organic matter within a 100-meter radius." They ran, Crane's guards following in disciplined retreat. Behind them, the patriarch's death scream, both mental and physical, shook the facility's foundations. Zenith's final words echoed after them, his voice breaking between human speech and Genestealer clicking. "You have doomed us all. The patriarch was containment. Without it, the others will come." The facility collapsed as they reached the surface, the entire structure falling into the Forge World's crust. Crane's transport lifted off as debris rained around them. From their high position, they watched the crater form, swallowing the research station and all its horrors. "Others," Batman said quietly, studying data he'd downloaded from the facility's records. Zenith said the others will come. He wasn't working alone. Crane examined his own data device, his expression grim. The facility logs reference a network, project sites on 17 different worlds across 3 sectors. "Emperor's mercy. This conspiracy is larger than I imagined." "Then we follow it to the source," Batman said. "Someone authorized these projects. Someone funded them. Someone in the Mechanicus hierarchy knew what Zenith was doing." "Accusing the Adeptus Mechanicus of forbidden practice is not done lightly," Crane warned. "They are one of the Imperium's most powerful groups. Even an Inquisitor must walk carefully." "Then we don't accuse. We investigate quietly, gather evidence, build a case they can't deny." Crane studied the mysterious warrior. 3 weeks of working together, and he still knew almost nothing about Batman's true origins. Yet the man's dedication to justice, his unwillingness to accept corruption at any level, matched Crane's own inquisitorial oath. "Very well. But understand, if this conspiracy reaches as high as I suspect, we will make powerful enemies. The Mechanicus does not forgive those who expose their secrets." Batman's expression, what little was visible behind his mask, remained hard. "I've made enemies before. I'm still here." The trail led to Mars itself, the red planet, sacred heart of the Adeptus Mechanicus, Forge World Supreme of the Imperium. Getting there required using every favor Crane had built up in decades of service. Mars was more fortress than planet, its orbit crowded with defense platforms, its surface a maze of forged temples, each ruling in its own domain. Batman had changed his appearance, wearing a hooded robe over his armor to blend with the tech pilgrims that constantly arrived on Mars seeking the Omnissiah's blessing. Crane traveled openly, using his inquisitorial authority to demand access to restricted files. The projects were funded through a shell organization called the Xenobiological Integration Initiative, Batman explained as they moved through the crowded halls of the records district. Official documents claim it's focused on developing anti-alien weapons, but the actual funding flows to unauthorized research into alien enhancement of human abilities. Forbidden practice of the highest order, Crane muttered. The purity of human form is sacred teaching. To intentionally blend human and alien genetics breaks the Emperor's vision. Someone at the Fabricator General level had to approve this, Batman continued. The budget amounts are too large, the scope too wide for anything less. They reached the archives, vast data vaults where the Mechanicus stored thousands of years of technical knowledge. Flying skulls floated among towering servers, retrieving information for robed tech priests who connected directly with machine spirits through brain interfaces. Gaining access required presenting papers to a senior archmagos, a being more machine than man whose organic parts were limited to a brain and portions of his central nervous system. His modified eyes scanned Crane's inquisitorial seal with suspicion. Your authority is noted, Inquisitor, the archmagos said in machine language translated through his voice unit. However, the archives you seek access to are sealed under Mechanicus privilege. Even your warrant has limits. I seek only information relevant to an active investigation into alien infiltration, Crane replied carefully. Surely the Mechanicus wishes to assist in removing such threats. The Mechanicus requires no assistance in managing alien threats. We are well capable of containing any such contamination. Batman stepped forward, his presence drawing the Archmagos' attention. Contamination like Magos Zenith? The one who was declared dead but continued operating illegal research facilities for 40 years? The Archmagos' mechanical arms twitched, a sign of upset in Mechanicus body language. I know not of what you speak. Yes, you do. Batman produced a data chip containing evidence they'd recovered. Zenith's projects were funded through official channels. His requests for genetic material were approved by senior magi. Either the Mechanicus was part of his forbidden practice, or your security is so broken that anyone can operate unauthorized projects for decades without oversight. The threat was clear. Either admit to conspiracy or admit to failure. Neither was acceptable to Mechanicus pride. You overstep, oddity, the Archmagos said, his tone hardening. Your presence here is tolerated only because of inquisitorial support. Do not presume to lecture the servants of the Omnissiah. Then prove me wrong, Batman challenged. Open your archives. Show us that the Mechanicus had no knowledge of Zenith's work, or continue to block us, and we'll draw our own conclusions. Crane held his breath. Batman was playing a dangerous game, pushing the Mechanicus into a corner. But it was the right move. The Archmagos couldn't refuse without essentially confirming guilt. Finally, the Archmagos tilted his head in what might have been agreement. Very well, you may access the archives, but be warned, you will find nothing to support your accusations. The Omnissiah's servants are beyond such forbidden practice. The archives revealed a carefully built paper trail. On the surface, everything appeared proper. Approved research into alien biology, authorized by properly credentialed magi, funded through legitimate budget amounts. But Batman saw the patterns beneath. Here, he pointed to a series of transactions. These requests for genetic material were approved within minutes of submission. No review period, no checking rules. Either someone was waiting to approve them instantly, or the approvals were automated through broken systems. Crane's tech priest helper examined the data. The approval codes traced to Fabricator Locum Hadron Vex. He oversees the Biologist Division. All alien research falls under his control. Where is he now? According to the duty logs, Fabricator Locum Vex is conducting private research in Forge Complex 17. That section is heavily restricted. Batman and Crane exchanged glances. How restricted? Batman asked. Fabricator General level clearance required. Armed robot patrols. Null field shielding to prevent mental surveillance. Whatever research occurs there, the Mechanicus wants it very secret. Then that's where we need to be, Batman said. Breaking into Forge Complex 17 required Batman's full array of skills. Crane's inquisitorial authority got them to the outer fence, but beyond that, only stealth would work. Batman moved like a shadow through corridors where every surface was watched, every air current analyzed by machine spirits. He disabled security systems with devices that tricked their sensor readings, showed empty corridors where he actually passed. His understanding of technology, though different from Mechanicus' teaching, was advanced enough to work with their systems. Crane followed as best he could, his power armor making stealth difficult. But Batman had planned routes that minimized exposure, paths through maintenance tunnels and air shafts that avoided main hallways. They reached the heart of the complex to find something that made even Crane's hardened feelings revolt. The chamber was vast, filled with hundreds of vats. Inside each floated a hybrid, human bodies modified with alien genetic material, not just Genestealer DNA, but samples from across the galaxy. Orc muscle grafted onto human frames, Tau nervous systems integrated into human brains, even traces of what appeared to be Necron technology fused into organic tissue. "By the throne," Crane whispered. "They're creating an army." "Not an army," said a voice behind them. "An evolution." They turned to find Fabricator Locum Hadron Vex standing in the chamber's entrance. His form was skeletal, more machine than organic, his face replaced by a sensor array that glowed with internal light. Behind him stood ranks of combat robots, their weapons trained on the intruders. "Inquisitor Crane, I wondered when your investigation would lead here, and your companion, the oddity that the entire Mechanicus has been searching for since your arrival on Nostromo Secundus. Our sensors detect technology that predates the Imperium. Dark age of technology, perhaps? Or something even more unusual?" Batman's hand moved to his utility belt, but Vex raised a mechanical arm in warning. "Please don't. My robots are equipped with radiation weapons. They would reduce you both to dust before you could act." "You're conducting forbidden research," Crane accused, "creating alien-human hybrids in direct breaking of the Emperor's teaching." "The Emperor's teaching is 10,000 years old," Vex replied. "Humanity grows stale while alien species evolve, adapt, grow stronger. The orcs reproduce faster than we can kill them. The Tyranids evolve to counter every weapon we deploy. The Tau expand while we decay. The Imperium is losing, Inquisitor. It has been losing for thousands of years. We simply lack the courage to admit it." "So your solution is to become alien yourself?" Batman said. "To abandon what makes you human?" "Humanity is a limitation, not a virtue," Vex stated. "We are fragile, short-lived, constrained by biological needs, but the aliens show us possibilities. Orc healing could make our soldiers nearly immortal. Tyranid adaptation could allow us to survive any environment. Tau brain enhancement could multiply our intelligence 100-fold. We could rise above humanity's weakness and claim our rightful control over the galaxy." "You'd create monsters," Batman countered. "Creatures that are neither human nor alien, belonging to neither order. You'd destroy the very thing you claim to be lifting up. A small price for rising above." Crane's hand moved toward his bolt pistol, but Batman stopped him with a gesture. The detective was analyzing the situation, looking for options. "The vats," Batman said suddenly. "They're not just growing hybrids. They're connected to a central system. You're building something larger." Vex's sensor array focused on him with what might have been approval. "Perceptive. Yes, each hybrid is a component. When assembled, they will form the first true Omega Collective, a meta-organism combining the best traits of a dozen species. It will be unstoppable." "It will be a monster before the Emperor," Crane said, "and I will not allow it to be completed." He moved with surprising speed for a man in power armor, his bolt pistol clearing its holder and firing in one fluid motion. The explosive round struck a vat, detonating inside. The hybrid within convulsed as its life support systems failed. Vex's robots opened fire. Batman's cape hardened into a shield, blocking the first volley of laser fire. He deployed smoke bombs that filled the chamber with hiding clouds. In the confusion, he grabbed Crane and pulled him behind a bank of machinery. "You've doomed yourself." Vex's modified voice echoed through the chamber. "There is no escape from this complex. Secure all exits. Summon the Skitarii. These rule breakers will not leave Mars alive." Batman was already working, his glove deploying tools that connected with the complex's systems. "I can override the VAT controls, flood the chamber with their growth chemical. It'll force the hybrids into rapid development. They'll die within minutes from cell breakdown." "Do it," Crane ordered, firing his bolt pistol at approaching robots. Batman's fingers moved across glowing displays with blinding speed. Code scrolled past faster than human eyes could follow. Vex realized what was happening too late. "No, stop him." But Batman had already broken through the final security wall. The VAT systems went into emergency override. Growth chemical flooded every chamber at once. The hybrids began convulsing, their bodies trying to develop years of growth in seconds. Flesh tore, organs failed, bone structures collapsed under rapidly multiplying mass. Within minutes, every hybrid was dead. Vex's electronic scream of rage filled the chamber. Decades of research, centuries of combined effort. You've destroyed it all. Good, Batman said simply. Some things should be destroyed. You understand nothing. The Imperium is doomed without evolution, without adaptation. You've condemned humanity to death. Humanity will survive on its own terms, Crane stated, emerging from cover. Not by becoming alien. The Emperor's vision is clear. Human purity is sacred. The Emperor is dead, Vex roared. A corpse worshipped by fools. His Imperium crumbles while you defend his outdated rules. The chamber doors burst open. Skitarii rushed in, cybernetically enhanced warriors of the Mechanicus, their weapons ready. But behind them came another force. Crane's own guards, along with a group of Adeptus Custodes in gleaming golden armor. Stand down, Fabricator Locum, commanded the Custodes' shield captain. By order of the High Lords of Terra, you are under arrest for forbidden practice against the Imperium. Vex's sensor array swiveled in shock. Impossible. My work was approved, sanctioned at the highest levels. Your work was watched from its beginning, the shield captain replied coldly. The Inquisition suspected Mechanicus' forbidden practice. You were allowed to continue so that all conspirators could be identified. You and 17 other Magi across 3 sectors. All are being arrested at the same time. Your conspiracy dies today. Batman looked to Crane, understanding dawning. You knew, from the beginning. Crane nodded. The Inquisition suspected Mechanicus' involvement in alien research for years, but we needed proof, and we needed to identify everyone involved. Your arrival, your investigation, provided the perfect cover. While you tracked the conspiracy openly, we worked in the shadows to map its full extent. You used me. I used your skills, yes. And in return, I gave you freedom to operate, resources, protection from arrest despite your odd nature. You helped us, Batman. More than you know. Batman was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to watch as the Skitarii took Vex into custody, the fallen Mago still ranting about evolution and humanity's doom. What happens to him now? Trial before the Inquisition, almost certainly execution. His co-conspirators will face the same. The Mechanicus will be cleaned of this forbidden practice. And the knowledge he created, the research? Destroyed, purged from all records. Such dangerous information cannot be allowed to exist. Batman nodded slowly. What about me? I'm still an oddity, as Vex said. Unknown technology, unknown origins. The Imperium doesn't tolerate unknowns. Crane met his gaze. That depends on what you choose to do next. The judgment chamber deep within the Imperial Palace on Terra was smaller than the one where Superman had knelt, less grand, more private. This was not a public announcement, but a quiet reckoning. Batman stood before 3 figures. Lord Inquisitor Veritas of the Ordo Xenos, Captain General Valorous of the Adeptus Custodes, and a glowing projection of someone Batman had not expected, the High Lord Militant himself. Crane stood to one side, having presented his full report on Batman's activities over the past months. The evidence of his abilities, his effectiveness against alien threats, and his troubling origin remained unexplained. You are an impossibility, Lord Inquisitor Veritas began. Your technology suggests dark age of technology advancement, yet bears no marks of standard origin. Your methods are effective but rule-breaking, following no known Imperial teaching, and your very presence in this reality remains unexplained. Speak plainly. What are you? Batman had spent weeks considering how to answer this inevitable question. I'm from another reality, a place called Earth, similar to ancient Terra but different in basic ways. I don't know how I arrived here. A device of unknown origin brought me through what I can only describe as a dimensional barrier. Another reality. Veritas's tone suggested disbelief. Such claims border on warp madness. And yet, Captain General Valorous interrupted, our tech priests have examined the craft in which he arrived. The technology is beyond anything in current Imperial knowledge, yet shows no signs of chaos, corruption, or alien manufacture. His explanation, however strange, may be accurate. The glowing projection of the High Lord Militant leaned forward. More relevant than your origin is your purpose. You have demonstrated considerable skill in combating alien threats. Your investigation into the Mechanicus' forbidden practice, while carried out as an unknowing tool of the Inquisition, was nonetheless effective. The question is, can you be trusted? Can the Imperium rely upon someone whose loyalties lie in a reality that no longer exists for you? Batman considered his response carefully. Where I come from, I dedicated my life to protecting people, to fighting corruption, unfairness, and those who would prey on the innocent. That purpose doesn't change based on which reality I inhabit. I see the threats this Imperium faces, threats that would consume everything if not opposed. I can help fight them. Help, Veritas repeated, but under whose authority? Following whose commands? The Imperium cannot tolerate free agents operating outside our hierarchy. Order must be maintained. I've worked with authority before. Batman replied. I understand the need for coordination, for structure. But I won't be someone's blind instrument. I won't commit terrible acts because someone orders me to. Then you reveal your fundamental incompatibility with Imperial service. Veritas stated flatly. In the Imperium, orders are absolute. The individual conscience is secondary to mankind's collective survival. Is it? Batman challenged. Because from what I've seen, individual conscience is the only thing standing between the Imperium and the very corruption it claims to fight. Zenith's conspiracy thrived because people followed orders without question. They trusted that their superiors knew best and never stopped to ask if what they were doing was right. Dangerous thinking, the High Lord Militant observed. But not without merit. The Imperium has grown hardened in some ways. Questioning authority is forbidden practice, yet blind obedience has led to terrible failures throughout our history. My lord, Veritas protested. Surely you don't suggest. I suggest nothing. The High Lord cut him off. I merely observe that this oddity poses a unique opportunity. His skills are undeniable, his effectiveness proven. And his methods, while rule-breaking, have achieved results that normal Imperial forces struggled to accomplish. The question is whether we can find a role for him within Imperial structure without harming either his effectiveness or our authority. Captain General Valoris spoke, his voice carrying the weight of one who commanded the Emperor's personal guard. There is history for agents operating with significant freedom. The Inquisition itself grants its members wide freedom in pursuing their missions. Perhaps a similar arrangement could be made. Crane stepped forward. If I may speak, my lords. In the months I have worked with Batman, I have observed that he operates most effectively when given a problem to solve rather than orders to follow. He is a detective, an investigator by nature. Perhaps his talents are best utilized in that capacity. What do you propose, Inquisitor? Veritas asked. Make him an agent of the Inquisition. Not a full Inquisitor. He lacks the religious training and Imperial teaching for that role, but an operative. One authorized to investigate threats to the Imperium, granted significant freedom in his methods, but ultimately answerable to inquisitorial oversight. Batman considered this. It wasn't perfect. There would still be conflicts, times when Imperial orders contradicted his moral code, but it offered something he desperately needed. Legitimacy to operate, resources to access, and a framework within which to pursue his mission of protecting people. I have conditions, he said finally. The room fell silent. Making conditions before such high authorities was boldness, bordering on suicidal. Speak them, the High Lord Militant said, surprisingly permissive. First, I don't kill unless absolutely necessary. I understand this is a brutal universe, and sometimes lethal force is the only option. But I won't execute prisoners or civilians, even if ordered. Second, I require access to resources and information necessary to my investigations. No holding back intelligence because of clearance levels or area disputes. Third, I need freedom in my methods. I'll coordinate with Imperial forces when necessary, but I won't be watched constantly by people who don't understand how I work. Presumptuous demands from an oddity with no leverage, Veritas observed coldly. He has leverage, Captain General Valoris corrected. He is unique, his skills are valuable, and he could, in theory, refuse any service to the Imperium entirely. We could attempt to detain him, but based on observations of his abilities, such detention would be difficult and resource-heavy. Better to negotiate terms acceptable to both parties. The High Lord Militant was silent for a long moment, his glowing form flickering slightly with transmission interference. Very well. Batman, the name you have given yourself, the Imperium accepts your service under the following terms. You will operate as an agent of the Inquisition, specifically under Inquisitor Crane's oversight. You will investigate threats to Imperial security, particularly those involving alien infiltration or technological forbidden practice. You will be granted significant freedom in your methods and access to Imperial resources as deemed necessary by your handler. In exchange, you will not actively work against Imperial interests, will coordinate with Imperial forces when required, and will submit to periodic review of your activities. Regarding your conditions, your reluctance to kill is noted and will be accommodated where practical. However, understand that there will be situations where your mercy endangers Imperial citizens. In such cases, you will defer to Imperial judgment or remove yourself from the situation. Agreed? Batman nodded slowly. It wasn't everything he wanted, but it was more than he'd expected. Then kneel. Batman hesitated. Kneeling before authority went against everything he represented. But this wasn't his reality. Here, such gestures carried different weight, different meaning. And if kneeling allowed him to protect people, to fight the darkness threatening to consume this Imperium, then his pride was a small price to pay. He knelt. Captain General Valoris stepped forward, producing a small object, a seal of office bearing the symbol of the Inquisition. Rise, Batman, agent of the Inquisition. May the Emperor guide your investigations and protect you from the darkness you hunt. As Batman stood, the weight of the seal in his hand felt both like a burden and an anchor. He was committed now, bound to this Imperium. For better or worse. Weeks later, Batman stood on the landing platform of an inquisitorial fortress vessel, preparing for his first official mission. Intelligence indicated a possible Genestealer infestation in the underhive of a distant world, a perfect assignment for his particular skills. Crane approached, his expression unreadable. You seem troubled. I've made a deal with an empire that routinely commits terrible acts in the name of survival, Batman replied. I've compromised principles I thought were absolute. I should be troubled. Yet you continue. Because the alternative is worse. If I refuse to work within the system, I can't change it. And this Imperium needs to change. It needs to remember that the people it protects are not just resources to be spent, but lives with value. A noble goal, likely impossible to achieve. I've accomplished impossible things before. Crane almost smiled. Perhaps you have. The Imperium is vast, Batman. 10,000 years of built-up corruption, teaching, and necessary brutality. You are one man, one oddity. Can you truly hope to make a difference? Batman's expression, still hidden behind his mask, somehow conveyed absolute certainty. I don't hope to make a difference. I intend to. One case at a time. One saved life at a time. Eventually, it adds up. As the transport lifted off, carrying him toward his next mission, Batman looked back at Terra, the scarred, industrialized cradle of humanity. Somewhere on that world, encased in his golden throne, the Emperor maintained his eternal watch. Batman wondered if that ancient consciousness was aware of him, if it approved of his presence, or saw him as another threat to manage. But ultimately, it didn't matter. He hadn't sworn loyalty to the Emperor or even to the Imperium itself. He'd sworn to protect people. The same oath he'd taken in a Gotham cave a lifetime and a reality away. In the grim darkness of the far future, where there was only war, a new shadow had emerged. Not a knight in shining armor offering hope and inspiration, but a dark figure working from the margins, from the shadows, protecting those the Imperium deemed expendable. The criminals and rule breakers of the Imperium would soon learn what their counterparts in another reality had learned long ago. The night had eyes, the darkness had teeth. And his name was Batman. In the depths of the Imperial Palace, in chambers so secure that even most inquisitors had never seen them, the custodian tribune made his report directly to the Captain General. The oddity has been deployed on his first mission, my lord. Surveillance indicates he is performing as expected. And the other matter? The technology we recovered from his craft? Our tech workers continue to study it, though progress is slow. The principles behind its dimensional transit abilities are unlike anything in Imperial records. Not warp-based, not webway-related. Something entirely different. Could it be copied? Could we use it to access these other realities he speaks of? The Tribune hesitated. In theory, perhaps, but the risks would be considerable. If we can access other realities, so too might other things access ours. We could be opening a door that should remain closed. Or we could be discovering a refuge. If the Imperium truly falls, if the darkness consumes everything, perhaps humanity could flee to one of these other realities. Start anew. A desperate thought, my lord. We live in desperate times, Tribune. Continue the research, but with utmost caution. and maintains surveillance on our dark detective, he may prove valuable. Or he may prove to be a threat we cannot contain. Time will tell which. In the darkness between stars, forces that had observed Batman's arrival with interest continued to watch. The Chaos Gods saw a soul that had resisted their corruption, a mind too disciplined to easily bend. They would wait, patient as only immortal beings could be, for the moment when his vaunted principles failed and his dark nature emerged. The Tyranid hive fleets, vast alien consciousnesses spanning galaxies, sensed a new pattern in the galaxy, a defender whose methods differed from the standard Imperial teaching. They would adapt, evolve, find ways to counter this new threat. And somewhere in the dimensional spaces between worlds, the device that had brought Batman to this reality pulsed with dying energy. Its creators, whoever or whatever they were, had succeeded in punching through the barriers between worlds. But the path they opened worked both ways. Other things were coming. Other oddities would fall through the cracks between realities. Some would be allies. Some would be threats beyond even the Imperium's experience. The age of oddities had begun. And in the shadows of 1,000,000,000,000 worlds, Batman prepared to face them all. For in the grim darkness of the far future, where there was only war, there was now also something new. Justice. On a world called Malfi Prime, in an underhive so deep that sunlight had never reached its depths, a young girl huddled in the darkness. Gang members approached, their weapons drawn, their intentions clear. She had nowhere to run, no one to call for help. The Imperium's law didn't reach these forgotten depths. Then something moved in the shadows above. The gang members looked up, confused. Before they could react, a dark shape dropped among them. There were sounds of impact, cries of pain, the crack of breaking bones. Within seconds, all the gang members lay unconscious on the metal floor. The girl looked up to see a figure in black armor standing before her. His cape billowed despite the still air. His eyes glowed white behind his mask. "You're safe now," he said, his voice gentle despite its depth. "Do you know the way back to your family?" She nodded, too scared to speak. "Then go, and remember, you're not alone down here, not anymore." He launched a grappling line upward and disappeared into the darkness above, leaving the girl to wonder if she'd imagined the whole thing. But the unconscious gang members were real. The safety she felt was real. In the underhive of Malfi Prime, a legend was born. A story that would spread through whispered conversations in the darkness. A tale of a shadow that protected the helpless, that fought for those the Imperium had forgotten. They called him many things: the Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader, the Shadow of Justice. But his enemies knew him by one name: Batman. And in the grim darkness of the far future, that name would come to mean something. Not hope, like the symbol Superman brought, but something equally important. Fear for those who preyed on the innocent, protection for those who had none, justice for those the Imperium had abandoned. One case at a time, one saved life at a time, one shadow at a time. The Dark Knight had come to Warhammer, and the galaxy would never be the same.